And now, a brief word from Bear Bites.
So, I don't know if you guys heard about this at all, but there's this thing called Christianity going around. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. This socialist is helping the poor and amassing an army of the proletariat. Not very Christ-like if you ask me. Jokes aside, Christianity and its devout followers have been running the world theater for as long as Istanbul was Constantinople. But it has had its ebbs and flows in the realm of entertainment. So, has anyone else noticed the rise in Christian media recently?
It's time to go to heaven, my child.
Stop it, what are you doing?
Stop it,
Stop it, cut it out, help.
Stop.
Although this rise is something new in my lifetime and for people in my generation, as I previously said, Christian media moves in waves of popularity. Throughout history, when a new art form emerges, there's a rule of two that I like to point out. Two very distinct expressions that usually pop up immediately in the formation of media: sex and religion. Maybe in that order, maybe not, but usually these are the first two things that we see. People just love fucking and praying, sometimes in that order too. I mentioned this before on the channel, but at the birth of film, we had the French erotic short, The Bridegroom's Dilemma. This was released in 1896 by Albert Kirchner, known as Lier, a famous director at the time and a contemporary to Georges Méliès, the moon-faced guy for those who might not know the name. George even made his own version of The Bridegroom's Dilemma in 1899, so that wasn't the only moon that was out that night. Boo! But something I didn't mention last time was that 1 year later from the first erotic film, Lier also made the first Christian film. To our knowledge, because people destroyed these flicks at the time, 1897's The Passion was indeed the first traditional Christian movie, depicting the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. It just goes to show you, fucking and praying, that's what we like to do. If we can express that in an art form, then we got an industry, baby. Anyways, the point here is that these two forces walk hand in hand in art. Yet they seem so adversarial, right? A religion of censorship of sin against the celebration of sin. The Puritan mind versus the lustful heart. Worshipping more than humanity or embracing what makes us human. These are two sides of the same coin, the human experience. So I find it strange when one rises above the other and shames the existence of it. And somehow, in the center of all this conflict is Sabrina Carpenter? I say this as a joke, but there is some truth to it. I don't usually talk about music on this channel, but here's a brief rundown on some of the recent controversy. Sabrina Carpenter, for those living under a rock, is a massive pop star that's been in the music zeitgeist since her massive blow-up in 2024 with her song Espresso. She was a Disney Channel actress before that, and naturally, she moved away from that label quite forcefully. What I mean by that is, well, her art is very horny. Awesome music, don't get me wrong, I'm bumping to Juno while writing this script, but undeniably this is sexy time music for the summer. And this year, on the cusp of her new album, she released another song called Manchild, which I also like quite a bit. But what has people talking is this album cover, with the album title being Man's Best Friend. As you can see, it doesn't take too much to get the idea of what the theme of this album is gonna be. Frankly, this is awesome. I love to see artists feel comfortable to be this open and express themselves how they want. She clearly likes sex and erotica, so you do you, Sabrina. Others, however, don't really see it this way. From a bipartisan outcry, surprisingly, people have found this to be crude and without class. Obviously, you have the religious right crying over this provocative imagery, but you also have left-leaning circles saying this is anti-feminist, claiming it's not forthcoming or empowering of a woman to show herself like this. I'm a man-bear thing, so take this with a grain of salt, but isn't it more empowering that she has the choice to express herself like that? Sabrina is clearly in control here, and it's her choice with what she does with that power. Even though the left is less religious, I still can't help but see these sides come from the same source of Puritan values, even if that isn't the intention of these feminists. What is concerning to me, in all honesty, is that there seems to be no distinction anymore of where the criticism is coming from. Remember when Lil Nas X released Montero? It was pretty clear where this outcry was coming from. Same with that Jack Black Dear Santa movie that flopped out in 2024. A really bad movie, but Christians were talking about how obscene this was for a child to be around Satan as if it was up for Best Picture. We aren't past Little Nicky as a culture now? Really, guys? In tandem, more overtly Christian narratives are being pushed into public limelight. Since Billboard's adjustment in 2013, only 11 true Christian songs have entered the top 100, and 2 of those 11 hit this year in May. This also doesn't take into account the other gospel music from acts like Jelly Roll or Kanye.
I am Adolf Hitler, command of the Third Reich.
Looking past music, The Chosen is arguably one of the biggest shows out on streaming, with 770 million episode views in over 170 countries. I never heard of this show, but apparently the retelling of Christ's story is popular, I guess. And companies are realizing this too, with major studios launching faith-based films to pump out Christian movies. Even Netflix had one of their biggest trailers of this year come in the form of Mary. And God knows when Passion of the Christ 2 is actually dropping, but I'm sure that's gonna go over well.
Passion of the Christ 2. Crucify this.
Inherently, I don't think that there is anything wrong with Christian entertainment. I'm a Christian myself, and it'd be hypocritical of me to claim that it's poison. If finding faith gives you comfort and it isn't harming anyone or yourself, then go for it. Watch Jesus Resurrection Total Vengeance Part 5 and send me a copy of it.
Jesus! Oh! Chill, man. Chill.
When you get to heaven, say hi to my dad.
But you also have to recognize that Puritan values are not shared by everyone in the world, and imposing that restriction is ironically against the faith you want to preserve. Not everyone thinks the same way as you, and in turn has every right to express their humanity as they choose. Again, no harm being done. If you artistically want to show sex and violence, then by all means portray your truth. And as an audience, while you yourself don't have to like it, we should protect the idea of letting artists create what they want. Doesn't that allow for more inspiring masterpieces? Isn't that a win for everyone? Fucking and praying, two sides of the same coin.